Hi folks, hope you're okay today. It's good to be with you, and love to everybody. I just want to talk to you about Professor Gary Habermas' book, The Thomas Factor, Using Doubt Closer to God by Dr. Gary Habermas. You can read the full part of his writing on Be Thinking, a website where his work is hosted. The introduction of the book, Professor Habermas shows the background, explaining his own battle with doubts. Quote, he explains that doubt can take a number of forms and surveys the words used in the New Testament to express doubt. We read these. Our newspaper headline, says Gary Habermas, tells the story we are winning the battle against many dreaded diseases, but new ones are taking their place. Instead of physical calamities like polio, typhoid fever, and malaria, we have made a switch. Now we have traded for emotional sickness like anxiety disorders and various kinds of clinical depression. The latter may even be far more worse than the former, perhaps more common, especially on less severe scales. Many think that the emotional sickness effect life far more are more difficult to deal with and are far more painful than their physical counterparts. Some have called the last few decades the age of anxiety, and it seems that few descriptions provide a better idea of what this generation is all about. We are worried, so we are concerned about every conceivable sort of situation. Yes, almost gone are the days when Russia pushing the button is our chief distress. Gone too is the apprehension that I or some loved one might be drafted to fight in some foreign jungle. But new problems have taken their place. Well, will I get aid? Can my children even be raised today without contacting many opportunities for drugs and premarital sex? What if they make the wrong decision, especially given contemporary forms of peer pressure? Will some crazy individual walk into our local school or restaurant and open fire? We have heard that the so-called Generation X is the first generation to conclude the world will be worse than that of their parents. So that's a little bit of an introduction to the book. In chapter 1, it's both believers and unbelievers. Quote, it's not just believers who suffer doubt, atheists can also doubt. Their atheism, almost everyone doubts their beliefs at some time. Old and New Testament examples are given of believers who doubt, and lessons from these are drawn. Chapter 2 looks at common myths. Quote, some of the common myths about doubt are dispelled considering what doubt is, as well as what it does and does not. Chapter 3, three species of doubt are identified: factual, volitional, and emotional. Emotional doubt is the key concern of the rest of the book, but this chapter investigates doubts arising from factual questions and from issues relating to the will. Ways to identify these two species of doubt are given, and factors that lead to or aggravate such doubts are also discussed. Chapter 4, Emotional Doubt, What If? In this chapter, Professor Habermas narrows his focus onto emotional doubt, the most common and most distressing form of doubt. The chapter looks at how to identify emotional doubt, and then at some of the factors that can lead to it. Chapter 5, A Solid Foundation. Professor Habermas briefly explains the factual and historical basis of Christianity, which is the essential backdrop when dealing with emotional doubt. Christians do not believe it's true because believers are helped with emotional and other problems. Rather, believers can be helped by their Christian faith, precisely because Christianity is true. Chapter 6, Mapping a Specific Strategy. This chapter is first of 3, which describes one process which can help to conquer emotional doubt. Some biblical principles are described based in Philippians 4, 6, and 9. Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. and the peace of God, which surpasseth all understanding, will guide your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. So the full book can be found on Be Thinking, the Thomas Factor, Using Your Doubts to Draw Closer to God. Professor Gary Habermas is the Distinguished Professor, a Chair of Philosophy and Theology Department at Liberty University. And you can read chapters, which has got a lot of information on bethinking.org. I think doubt is